Okay, so we've managed to extract the data from the query. So we're pulling the data from the database, and in a sort of way we're beginning to format it on screen. However, if going back a few videos, we really need to format the data in JSON format. Now that is quite tricky. We're going to have arrays inside arrays. I think it's better if I sort of show you what the JSON structure is that I'm heading for, so that you can try and follow along during the video. I'm just going to create a new file so I can just type it in as pure text. So the JSON that I'm really looking at, if you remember, JSON is structured between a pair of angle brackets, and it's some key value pairs. And the first one that I'm really interested in as a key is person, because that's the table name I'm getting it from. And then, because there's more than one item, I've got 4 items, 3 items, 2 items, 1 item, so on, it's going to be an array of items. So person is going to contain an array of items, and each one of those items itself is going to be sort of an array, a group of items, so all separated by a comma. So if you can see here, I've got 1 Joe Bloggs, 2 Jane Smith, 3 Arthur Negus, 4 Joe Smith. If I was to do that in JSON, what I'd want is one set of values, key pair values separated by a comma, but in turn I'd want these separated by a comma. So I would be looking for an end result which had these 4 sets of braces. In each of these sets of braces I'm going to have my key value pairs, so each one separated by a comma, as I said. So in the first one I'm going to have to use the field name as the key. Now, okay, let's use a double quote, that's better. ID, and then whatever the ID is. I'm going to keep them as strings because they're actually going to return strings. So ID is 1. So there's the first one. I need to separate that from the first field. The first field is first name. That's the key, and the value is, for the first one, Joe. Separate that with a comma, and then the next field name, last name, and the last name is Bloggs. So again, as you can see, these are quite difficult to put together, but the structure, once it's there, you can work your way through it. One of the suggestions for a project was to actually do a parser for JSON. In other words, go through this structure and print it out neatly like you do in the formatter and validator, which I'm going to go to very shortly. Whoops, I made a mistake there. Age, make that one 20. I'm not going to do all 4, I'm only going to do 2 of the record, so I'm actually going to get rid of the last 2, otherwise we'll be here until tea time. So again, in the second one, remember I've got the 4 fields. Let's get those in quickly. ID, okay, and then a value, comma, and then the next key is first name, and its value, and then a comma, and then the next key, which is last name, and then its value, and finally, after a comma, the last one, age, and then and then its value. So let's fill in these values. So ID 2, first name is Jane, last name is Smith, and the age, let's just widen this a little bit, the age is 30. So that's the structure I'm aiming for. It's quite complex, quite difficult, but hopefully you'll see how this is built up as an array. What I'm going to do is copy all of this and I'm going to put it in the validator. So if I edit and copy, let's go to the JSON formatter and validator. Let's try top one. There we go. And if I paste my code into there and click process, we will see the structure. There we go. So let's just move this down a bit. You can see each record. So I've got a whole table person, and inside that table I have got 1, 2, oh, we missed off the last little bit there, never mind. I've got 2 records inside that, and each record consists of 4 fields, and each field contains its data. Okay, I'm not even going to bother fixing the last one because I think that pretty much clearly shows what's happening. But if we take a look, we can quickly fix it by putting the speech mark in there. So that is showing you sort of a manual way of building that JSON code. It's going to take a little bit of time to get used to it and be able to use it, but it's necessary to understand the next step of the programming, where we're going to build a PHP array, which is also going to consist of an array consisting of array elements. So it's quite a complex process, and I'm hoping that you'll be able to follow along without too much headache.